Hey guys, Tommy with Studio Sense here. If there's one thing that I have learned in using a lot of Issey Miyake fragrances is that they do dark really well. You can't even really get a hold of this one, Pulse of the Night. Fantastic fragrance, but they don't do light as well. They don't really have a lot of lighter fragrances in their lineup that do as well as their darker, more spicy, cold weather fragrances. And because of that, and while that's not the best reason, I took a little while in getting my hands on their latest lighter flanker, which is Issey Miyake Solar Lavender. And really, I kind of regret that because I feel like I should have gotten this sooner after using it because it hits that happy medium mark supremely well. And we'll talk about why that's a good thing right after this. Welcome back everyone to my first impressions of Issey Miyake Solar Lavender by Issey Miyake. This fragrance screams happy medium, and again, that's actually a good thing. We're going to discuss why that's the case in this video. I'm going to give you my first impressions of this release that's been out for several months. While it's not necessarily a new release, I'm going to discuss why I think you should run out and grab yourself a bottle of this. At least offer up some good reasons why I think you should try this out. But before anything else, let's take a quick look at that presentation. Now guys, I'm not going to do my typical show you different camera angles of the bottle and everything because, well, this is exactly like all of Issey Miyake, and if you're familiar with them at all, you'll know exactly what it looks like. But I am going to show you, this is the box. The box is broken up into two portions. There's the light portion and the dark gray. It says Issey Miyake in black, Issey Miyake Solar Lavender in black against gray. On the bottom, it is a 100 ml bottle, 3.3 fluid ounces. It is an eau de toilette concentration, but it's called eau de toilette intense. The sides of the box have no information, and in the promotional materials for this fragrance, they say it's 93% vegan, part of their whole eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, sustainable kind of move. On the back, it says when water meets lavender. Now, this is a apt description of this fragrance because it is being billed as kind of an aquatic fragrance. It says a vibrant lavender from natural origin. It says ethically sourced, enhanced by the freshness of water. There is a QR code. Below the QR code is an ingredients listing, address information, and some various stickers just like that on the bottom as well. And then you have your bottle. The bottle is a really nice look and presentation. I guess if you don't like tall bottles, you won't like any of Issey Miyake because they definitely stand tall. The lid is a large, it looks like ash wood kind of lid, a combination of wood and plastic. The atomizer is gray and plastic, and the lid doesn't necessarily click into place. It's seated relatively tightly on top of the atomizer, but I wouldn't go holding the bottle up by the lid for any length of time because it will fall. The glass is relatively thick, well made. It says Issey Miyake Solar Lavender in a copper tone kind of color and Issey Miyake across the bottom. The bottom doesn't have an adhesive sticker. It's actually printed on the bottom. There's size, concentration. For those of you that are into batch codes, the batch code is 4 3s in a row, so 333389. The bottle is clear glass, but it has somewhat of a smoky look to it, almost like a light blue. So now that we've taken a quick look at the presentation, what about the notes that make up Issey Miyake Solar Lavender? The family or classification of this fragrance is that of a woody aromatic fragrance, featuring top notes of Szechuan pepper, a heart note of lavender essence, and a base of woody cedar wood. So we've got a peppery open, a lavender heart, and a woody base. That's pretty simple. So now that we know the notes, what about the aroma? Okay, so this is an easy fragrance to give my first impressions on because it doesn't blow you out of the water. You're just in the water. See what I did there? Because it's aquatic. It is a very fresh, clean fragrance straight out of the bottle. I'm just going to show you right on my neck here. Boom, boom. The atomizer actually sprays a relatively thin spread, or I should say lack of spread. It's a pretty attenuated kind of spray, so you don't want to hold it up too close because it's just going to hit you and run down your neck. So hold it a good distance back. Right out of the atomizer, you get this very fresh, aquatic lavender. Now, lavender as a note in men's fragrance is almost literally in everything. It's one of those notes that helps subsidize whatever is making up a fragrance. It just kind of helps carry it. You know, it's like that very friendly kid on the bus that wants to carry your books, wants to help you with your homework or whatever. They're always there, they're always ready to do good, and they always have a fresh outlook. That's lavender in men's fragrance. And to have it be the sole carrier of the fragrance is just asking for a fresh fragrance. It's not a new take on lavender. It's not doing anything new or wild or exciting, but it does what it does extremely well. So what I would say about Solar Lavender, it's a very reliable lavender and it's a very versatile lavender. But the biggest word that I would use to describe this fragrance is subtlety. Fresh, clean, but then there in the forefront, subtlety. Where do you think that you could ever have a use of a subtle fragrance? Well, I'll tell you, because it's actually one of the more versatile types of fragrances to own. Of course, you got your beasts and bangers out there like Sauvage, Spice Bomb, these very heavy, loud, vociferous, boisterous kind of fragrances. This is not that. Believe it or not, there are more situations that would call for a subtle fragrance as opposed to one that is very loud. For example, at the office, right? Work. This is a weird scenario to bring up in a fragrance video, but what about a funeral? You don't want to show up at somebody's funeral smelling like BO, but you also don't want to wear Sauvage to a funeral. At least I wouldn't do that. That would be kind of, I don't know. It wouldn't be in good taste. However, Solar Lavender would be in good taste because it's a subtle fragrance. You're not pushing an agenda off on somebody else. What about that first date? It would be okay to wear, I guess, a loud fragrance if that's how you want to come across, but you want your fragrance to say, at least on a first date, a job interview, you want your fragrance to say, I didn't think too hard or too long about this, just the right amount of time, and put just the right amount of importance on a fragrance. And that's what Issey Miyake Solar Lavender says. And that's the subtlety that it encompasses. So super versatile fragrance. There are so many uses for this, and I'm really happy to see it in the lineup. Now, this isn't the first successful light fragrance in this line. There was O and Cedar, which I didn't really particularly care for. There was the Issey Miyake Vetiver, which had the water molecule of Cologne, had ginger in it, Haitian vetiver, clary sage. It just had a lot more notes, and it seemed to be a bit more complex and more intelligent of a fragrance. So far that has been my favorite, but this is a close runner-up. In terms of versatility, it's just like the rest of them, but there is a warm, subtle, welcoming kind of feel to the aroma, to the profile of this fragrance. If the person who smells this on you doesn't in particular notice the smell of lavender, they're just going to notice that you're fresh and clean, even as they don't know why. It's going to be a very welcoming kind of scent, and it will be a positive experience for them. Again, there are a ton of different uses for a subtle fragrance over a loud one, even as loud fragrances are more appreciated often because of their better performance. But I got some good performance out of this. I'm still working on that in terms of a full review, but for my purposes, this seemed to last most of the day. It's not going to carry this huge scent bubble or huge scent trail, but it does carry its whole fresh and clean doings really well in a decent amount of time. This is probably one of the fragrances that you want to have in your rotation. It's been out long enough that you can get it at discounters. I think if you do want to get it at retail, full retail is like $113 at Macy's and other retail outlets. But I have listed down below some discounter locations that you can get it for much less than that. And I think for the price, it's definitely well worth owning. I own pretty much all of Issey Miyake's, definitely all of the darker fragrances and some of the lighter ones that are good, like the Issey Miyake line, and I'm happy to add this to the lineup. The last two fragrances, the Vetiver and the Lavender, they've hit it out of the park, I think, and I think people are going to appreciate those over some of the other attempts at the lighter side or the sunny side of the market. Well, guys, I know we just covered it in brief, but that pretty much sums up my first impressions of L'Odyssée Pour Homme Solar Lavender by Issey Miyake. I think it's a great addition to the L'Odyssée line, and I think you should get your nose on it. You're not going to spend a ton of money. If you want to get a sample and try it out, that's always recommended above and beyond blind buying. But if you like the smell of lavender, and let's face it, lavender is in everything, pretty much, then you're going to enjoy this fragrance. There's something for everyone, I think, in terms of building upon that lavender foundation in a very fresh, clean, and ultimately subtle way. But what are your thoughts on this L'Odyssée Pour Homme flanker? Do you think it's the best, the worst? Which one is your favorite? Share those thoughts below so everyone can know how you feel. Thanks so much for tuning in today. As always, thank you so much for your continued support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video review. Believe it or not, I'll be here tomorrow too with another video review. Didn't mean to make that rhyme, but that's what I do sometimes.